Hi, I'm Isaac. I'm a producer and a songwriter working in kind of like the indie folk rock sort of lane. And I want to share something with you today that has been really useful for me in becoming a better producer, and it's something you can take with you and hopefully use. And it's this idea of production mapping, which really is like a form of critical listening that you can do with any song that you like or don't like, the genre you work in, other genres. It doesn't really matter. And it's analyzing the recording through this lens of what specifically do I hear, and what are its characteristics. And so what you can do is you can start to build this toolkit or library in your head of all these different sounds, instruments, ways of treating instruments. You can think of like a snare drum, whether it's got muffling or no muffling. It's like one example of that. That can get you in and out of sections of songs, or build a certain vibe around a song. You can start learning which instruments are, you could say, characteristic of different genres, and then when in combination they signal to the listener like, okay, this is the world I'm living in right now. It's kind of like mood boarding in a way too, so it can serve as inspiration and a jumping off point for a new production you're doing. So I'll give a few examples because I've got a few songs that I did for this video in a production map format. Takes about 15 minutes, give or take, per song in my experience. You can get faster at it. Maybe on the long side it'd be like 20-25 minutes per song, but sometimes it can be as short as 10 minutes per song. And it's free. It doesn't cost anything other than a way to listen to music and access that music. So we'll start with, like, the first example I have in this list is a song by Moreland, which is Heart's Too Heavy. And so in my little summary note that I made about that recording, first thing I have is the snare sound is deep and long. So it's like this sort of fat sounding snare, and it's pretty dead. So it's definitely been dressed in some way. There's no like ringing overtones poking out to my ears. On the verses, the instrumentation gets a lot more sparse, and anything that isn't subtracted entirely is just there to outline chords and provide some like ear candy for the listener. So tiny little parts for like the electric guitar or something. There's like this cross-sticking sound that is used in the drum groove on the verses for parts of the verses, that is really cool because it basically replaces the hi-hat for those parts. So it just gives something a little different. It's basically the same groove as with the hi-hat, but there's just a bit of a different sound, and it creates some separation between, say, like half one and half two of those verses. Every chorus, the drums drop out right before the chorus hits, and on the last chorus they drop out a little bit sooner. So it's just, again, it's about like, this is signaling it's chorus time, and then on the last one we kind of hang on John's words in that last verse a little bit more because the drums drop out sooner, and it's like, oh, that's new. The same snare fill is basically used on all the choruses. Again, it's like it's chorus time. Repetition can be a really useful thing in songs and recordings, and it's not always something you need to shy away from. Helps us make sense of things, I think, as listeners. There's a second voice doing a harmony on the choruses. There are some tambourine accents on the choruses with the drum groove. Overall, the drum groove is pretty simple. It's like just holding down that rhythmic spine of the song. The last thing I have written there is that the electric guitar is not that overdriven. Like, it's got some kind of edge going on, but overall it's like pretty clean. And I think a lot of the time when you're recording, you don't have to push the amp or distortion that far with electric guitars. Usually less than you think you need. So that's like a look at some of the things that I start pulling out when I'm doing this kind of critical listening and production mapping. Is it's like, what are the sounds? What are the arrangement things happening? How is contrast being created? How's interest being sustained? And all of these things are happening before you're entering like mixed territory or mastering territory. This is like you're building the recording. These are like the big building blocks that give it its character, and these are like the big moves. So we'll move on to the Boy Golden Mountain Road production map that I did. So this one has a drum machine providing most of the rhythmic structure. It's a simple groove, and I would call these like round sounds that are being used for the groove. So there's no like sizzling, cracking snare. It's like these round tom or clav sounds. The electric guitar tone is super clean, but it's modulated, and I would say with like pitch and volume vibrato. So tremolo would be volume vibrato. It sounds like it was probably double tracked, which would give it some more size in the mix. You can like pan things side to side or opposite each other. If you've double tracked something, that can be a really cool way to add some girth to a sound. This is counted in threes, which is kind of cool. It's like a 3/4 time signature. Similar to the John Moreland tune, the electric guitar comes out most of the way for the verses, and it's just making some space there, creating some contrast. There's some like synth drone stuff going on to build some tension as you move through the song and the verses. There are acoustic drums in this song too, and they're not exclusively on the choruses, but they're mostly for the choruses, I would say. Like, they are hammering home the rhythmic point on the chorus or hook sections. And then like verse 3, for example, pretty much everything comes out to create lots of contrast, but you still have the drum machine just kind of keeping pace. The acoustic drum sounds are pretty dry. It sounds like if there's any reverb on them at all, it's like a small room thing, or just a little bit of a little bit of space with a really short decay. Background vocals, there's some octave harmonies on verse 2, maybe elsewhere, I think. There is like the last thing I've written for this one is there's like this noisy electric guitar slide coming into that last chorus, and it's just like a cool sound. It's not playing a chord, it's not like an arpeggio or a melody. It's like, this is just like a raunchy sound to say it's time for the last chorus of this tune. So a few more interesting things there. And again, these are like little things that it's not a template. It's like, I'm just saving that for later. And maybe like there's a production I'm working on where I'm like, I can't make this last chorus in my song like rip the way I want it to. Then like, so there's like kind of a cool thing here with that noisy, raunchy electric guitar sound, just like announcing the last chorus. Maybe that's something I can use in my own production. And for this last one, the song's called Friends on the Internet. There's a drum machine in this one too. I don't think are any acoustic drums from what I remember in this production, but there are like shakers and tambourines which get added in. There are those like droning synths in the background again, which just add like this glue and texture to production. So like one of the things that I've found in some of my work on songs is like a Hammond organ can do a similar kind of thing. They're like sustained long notes. You can put them pretty low in the mix, and they just kind of tie things together in this really cool way where it's like, it's not empty space, but it's also not not empty space. Like it's not doing that much melodically, but it's like just it brings things kind of together. You can do some interesting like voice leading things on a Hammond too, but yeah, it's like that sort of sustained pad glue holding things together can be something cool to try. Another interesting thing about this song is that there's like this very driving, persistent feel, in my opinion, with this recording, and I think part of that is the consistent eighth notes on the bass guitar, and it's just like, yep, we're going. Similar to the Boy Golden song, again, it's like the electric guitars get pretty stripped back for the verses. One of the interesting things about this recording too is that there's a really soft and warm to me is like a little bit less of a balance in the high frequencies, and a higher push in like the low mids can be like warm. But this acoustic guitar, like one of the things that's cool about overdub situations with recording is you can get like this soft acoustic guitar sound and put it right beside like someone wailing on a drum kit, and it's just like you can turn the fader up on the acoustic guitar or turn the fader down on the acoustic drums, and you can just put those things beside each other in a space, which is like so cool. And that's sort of what I'm hearing in this recording. Like there's some what you might consider like a big sounding electric guitar in a room, like or something that would have to be turned up in a room, and you like never hear that acoustic guitar part in the same way, but in recording you can do that kind of thing, which is sweet. Piano parts in this tune I thought were mostly just outlining chords, giving some ear candy, but they also tended to serve as like a transition into the pre-choruses, I thought, which was neat. It's just like signaling it's pre-chorus time. The choruses in this tune, really neat, kind of like the Boy Golden song, are built around a guitar riff rather than a vocal part, which is a super cool vibe that you can do. And like a hook is a hook, you know, like if it's a catchy guitar part, who needs a vocal part? The bridge section pushes the synth sounds forward a little bit more, which was neat. A little bit of change in like the sonics of the song. And a vocoder was used on, or something like that, was used on the background vocals on the last pre-chorus of the song, which I thought was really cool in that it's kind of like a nod to the actual songwriting, where it's talking about digital relationships or friends that you meet online, and then it's like this digital sounding voice. So that kind of stuff can be really cool too. It's just like a little bit of a full circle moment. Yeah, so production mapping, it's like a super simple exercise, doesn't take that long, and it can really help you like pull together these sounds or combinations of sounds, the order in which you introduce sounds, how the instruments are treated, or like, is it a distorted guitar, is it a clean guitar, is there modulation, how's that all feel, what does that do for like the whole song and its representation in a recorded form. So give it a try, because you might learn some really interesting stuff. And like I said, you can do it for any genre. I have done it for genres other than like the indie folk rock thing, and it works just like in the same way. So yeah, production mapping, give it a try. You can download this whole like summary of notes for these 3 songs. I'll just link it as a PDF in the video description, and then you can look through it on your own time. You can listen to the songs, and get an idea of like why I pulled those things out in my notes. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.